This morning, the suspect who ambushed two Los Angeles deputies in Compton last night is still on the run. Surveillance video shows a man dressed in black walking to their deputy car, holding out a gun, shooting multiple times, and then running off. The deputies were parked, sitting inside their vehicle in what appeared to be a well-lit area near the Compton Metro station, very close to their own sheriff's station. They were alert enough right after the shooting to radio in their own help. Their department tweeting, they are both still fighting for their lives and in critical condition. Those deputies were identified as a 31-year-old mother of a 6-year-old and a 24-year-old man. They were both just sworn in 14 months ago, according to the sheriff. Now, the president has tweeted about the incident, and the FBI is also now offering its help with finding the suspect.
To disperse protesters in Belarus, no method seems off the table for riot police. As they approached Sunday's mass rally, demonstrators ran and hid in fear. More than 400 of them were detained. During the latest demonstrations calling for President Alexander Lukashenko to step down, access to mobile internet was limited and central metro stations were closed. Despite this, more than 100,000 protesters still filled the streets of Minsk. Demonstrators also want the release of Maria Kalesnikova, a prominent opposition leader who was jailed after resisting expulsion from the country. The march came ahead of Lukashenko's meeting with Vladimir Putin on Monday. The talks will be Lukashenko's opportunity to prove to the Russian president that he's not losing his grip on power.
This is the manifestation of how the pandemic became a crisis in this city. This cemetery in Jakarta is only for patients who died from COVID-19 or were suspected of having it. The gravediggers are exhausted, but the bodies keep coming. Indonesia has more confirmed COVID-19 deaths than anywhere else in the region. More than 8,000 people are reported to have died, but due to low testing rates, the actual death toll could be much higher. And it's not just these workers who are under strain. This cemetery is a tragic representation of the impact of the pandemic here in Indonesia. And it's not just Jakarta's cemeteries that are fast filling up, but hospitals as well. It's why Jakarta's governor says the city must once again go into lockdown before the situation spirals out of control.
Israel has become the first country to announce a second national lockdown to combat the coronavirus. This comes after a surge in new infections. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the new lockdown will begin on Friday and last for 3 weeks.
Israel has one of the highest per capita infection rates in the world. Over 1,100 people have died. For days, Israelis have been protesting to demand Netanyahu step down for alleged corruption and for bungling the response to the COVID-19 crisis. After the lockdown announcement on Sunday, demonstrators blocked roads at Israel's Ben Gurion airport, where Netanyahu was due to fly to the U.S. to sign a peace deal to normalize ties with Bahrain.
Revelers enjoy a last weekend of partying before England's latest coronavirus restrictions take effect. As of Monday, gatherings of more than 6 people indoors and outdoors are prohibited in England, sparking frustration over perceived mixed messaging from Downing Street. Those who break the rules risk on-the-spot fines of £100, while repeat offenders risk having to pay up to £3,200. Under the new rules, however, larger gatherings are still permitted at gyms, schools, places of worship and employment, weddings and funerals. Similar measures were passed in Scotland and in Wales, though children under the ages of 11 and 12 there are exempt. Public health experts acknowledge that there are some inconsistencies, though they concede the new measures are the only way to avoid making stricter decisions in the near future.
It's to Russia now. Votes are being counted across that country after local elections were held on Sunday. The elections took place in Russia's 41 regions for both regional governors and local assemblies. Now, this vote is seen as a key test for President Vladimir Putin. The polls have been overshadowed by last month's near-fatal poisoning of opposition figure Alexei Navalny. His team wanted Russians to vote for the candidate with the best chance of defeating President Putin's United Russia Party.
Now, Zimbabwe's opposition parties and human rights activists have lambasted the ANC for failing to meet with them during that visit this week. The delegation, of course, from South Africa, led by ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule, met with ruling ZANU-PF party members to discuss the instability in Zimbabwe. Journalists, as well as members of opposition parties and civil society groups, have been arrested during protests over corruption and the ailing economy. Pandai Dube has this story from Harare.
Zimbabwe is currently in the midst of a political and economic crisis. Opposition parties and human rights activists believe the ANC delegation did not come to help resolve the turmoil, but rather to show solidarity with ZANU-PF.
Prof, just to summarize there, Jagruti Dave, our correspondent in the US, was just saying there it is not clear why Lana Marx has been targeted. Speculation is that maybe because of her personal relationship with American President Donald Trump. What could the implications of such a target be?
I think you have to start by saying, what's the implications of a story like this arising at this time? We are in an era of enormous disinformation. You did refer in your lead-in to the Politico story, which is a very serious reporting outlet in the U.S., which I read that story. And Politico sources two intelligence sources, unnamed, but they're a responsible media outlet, so I do have to take it seriously, and I expect that Congress and others would investigate these allegations.
An investigation by the Indian Express newspaper has revealed that China has been tracking important Indians from various fields, including politics, business, sports, and media. The list includes WION's editor-in-chief Sudhir Chaudhary, who has been targeted over WION's critical and incisive coverage of the country. China has been monitoring over 10,000 influential Indians as part of what is known as hybrid warfare. The list includes prominent people like Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President Ramnath Kovind and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Leading opposition leader and Congress Party's interim president Sonia Gandhi is also being monitored. The list also includes West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Chief Justice of India S.A. Bobde and Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat.
Oracle has beat out rival bidder Microsoft to take over the U.S. operations of TikTok, the popular video app. That's according to sources familiar with the matter, who said Sunday the deal won't be a sale, but rather a restructuring in the hopes of avoiding a ban in the U.S., while also appeasing the government of China. TikTok has found itself in the middle of a political standoff between Beijing and Washington. ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese parent company, had been in talks to divest the app's U.S. business to Oracle or Microsoft after President Donald Trump threatened last month to shut down the app in the U.S. if it wasn't sold off. Oracle's chairman, Larry Ellison, is one of the president's few supporters in the tech world. Negotiations were upended late last month when China changed its rules for exporting tech.
Amazon is set to recruit 100,000 more workers. It's the fourth hiring spree the online giant has announced for the US this year. The retailer is racing to keep pace with demand that jumped during lockdowns. Now the new positions are for full and part-time work in its home country and Canada. They will include roles at 100 new warehouse and operations sites it is opening this month. Amazon employed 876,800 people as of late June, excluding contractors and temporary personnel. Last quarter it saw a 40% rise in revenues and the biggest profit in its history. That has stoked demand for labour to pick, pack and ship products. Though the company is also investing heavily in automation, it wouldn't say whether that means fewer jobs per warehouse in the future.